Hello, everyone. My name's Matt, and welcome to Blades in the Dark here on Telling Tales. We make atmospheric tabletop role playing games and we stream them for you here on Twitch or on YouTube if you're watching on that, but mainly Twitch. Follow us on Twitch. Yes, do that thing. Hi. As usual, the first thing I'm going to do in this stream is introduce our stream manager for tonight, Steve, who will actually be guesting and playing later on as well, but also stream managing, pulling double duty. And delighted to do so, I am sure. Hi, Steve. You're on mute.
Going so well. Hello.
Going so well. That's usually my job, So triple duty for you now.
Amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, if you see, I normally say if you see Steve pop up, then something's gone horribly wrong. But Steve will be popping up as one of our guest stars for at least the first chunk of tonight. That doesn't mean something hasn't gone terribly wrong. A case can be made that something's always going terribly wrong. So yeah, there we go.
Somewhere in the world.
Absolutely. Thank you, Steve. We'll see you again in a moment as you come on one of the players. In the meantime, promo, that important stuff. If you look down below, there is a bunch of links. There's links to our YouTube and our Twitch. You're watching on one. Why not check out the other? There's links to our social media, to our Discord, where you can join and talk to us about all things role-playing and telling tales, to our Patreon, where you can support us and get lovely treats in return. We run 3 weekly series here on Twitch, 3 weekly role-playing series, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, each of them starting at 8 o'clock in the evening, BST. That is 3 o'clock in the afternoon, EST. Mondays is Call of Cthulhu, Tuesdays is Blades in the Dark, and Wednesdays is Simbaroom, which recently restarted again last week, as did Call of Cthulhu for that matter. We also run monthly one-shots on the first Saturday of every month. The most recent of these was the One Ring, the alpha build of One Ring from Free League, who were making the second edition of that, Lord of the Rings related game. It went really well, and the first VOD of that has just gone up on our YouTube, so feel free to check that out. We also run a fortnightly stream of Simbaroom over on the Free League Twitch, the last episode of which should be coming up this coming Sunday. Promo. That's all my promo, I think. That's everything. So with that in mind, what we'll do, because we've got a kind of wonky crew set up here this week, but it's all good. It's all fine. Let's just bring people on one by one, and you know what we'll do? We'll bring on our regular crew first, I think. So Steve, why don't you give me Pierre first? Give me lovely Pierre. There we go. Hi, Pierre.
Hello, Matt.
Hello.
Well.
You are well. So you Pierre plays Echo, our resident lurk. And you're not involved in the current score. You'll be involved a bit later on tonight. But it's safe to say that Echo hasn't been having an amazing time recently.
No. She's been doing her classic falling from great heights into the perilous unknown. And is feeling a little bit traumatized by her frequent brushes with death.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
And less frequent than she'd like pay.
Yeah, that too. But I think the death is on her mind more at the moment than money. Just for a moment, just for a split second.
Absolutely. There we go. That's Echo. Let's bring on Justin next. Justin plays 3 Sheets, our resident hound, tracker, hunter, shootsman.
Yep. All those things are true.
3 Sheets is also missing out on the current score. But what's on 3 Sheets' mind at the moment, Justin? How's life going for him?
Well, I messed up my hand pretty bad in the last score, so I've been seeing a doctor about that. We'll talk about more about that downtown. Just trying to sort stuff out. I saw one of my friends plummet off a building into the icy depths of one of the canals. So, processing trauma, take time to love yourself. It's the little things in life that, Black Lotus drugs that keep you going.
Yeah, live, laugh, love, as 3 Sheets often says.
Often says.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's worth noting, just because why wouldn't we, that wound in in Three Sheets' hand is an infected ferret bite.
Well, yeah. I mean, you could think of it like that, or you could think of it as a life lesson.
Absolutely. Live, laugh, love, ferret bites. That's how that goes. So let's bring on John next. John is a regular crew member who is involved in the current score, and John plays Bricks, the group's cutter and all-round neck-breakery thug. But he's been on the sort of other side of intimidating behaviour a little bit recently, hasn't he, John?
A little. Well, not like he'd admit. And the person in question, entity in question, didn't seem like they were attempting to intimidate him. They just were an incredibly intimidating being from somewhere.
Yeah, you had a little encounter with a demon.
Yeah, just a little one.
Yeah, and it seemed to quite enjoy giggling, which probably doesn't bode well. And was trying to lure the crew into taking some kind of job. And we'll find out about the fallout of that later on tonight. But for now, let's bring on the final member of our regular crew, Sam, who plays Silver. Hi, Sam. So you're on the current score, but how's Silver? How's she doing at the moment? The group's resident slide, kind of deceiver and manipulator.
Pretty good, I think. I think she picked a good week to take a week off, avoided ferret bites and falling into the icy waters of Duskfall. So, yeah, she's pretty happy about that. And now this score seems to be going relatively smoothly as far as scores go for us.
So far. And speaking of this score, let's bring on our two guest stars for tonight. And let's start by bringing on Chris. Please, Chris, who's playing Oriel, a whisper, i.e. kind of a cultist who is currently working with the Keepers on this mission here. Chris, how's Oriel doing?
Say they're a little bit shook after discovering the unusual supernatural presence that seems to be at the heart of this new weapons demonstration we're trying to sabotage.
Absolutely, it's a little bit unnerving. And let's bring on our final guest star, our excellent stream manager, trustworthy triple duty puller, Steve, who is playing Rook, a saboteur and leech.
Yes.
Is Rook enjoying their first outing with the Keepers?
Rook is somewhat stressed at the moment. Things are going okay, but in terms of if you were going to rate stress like out of 9, say, Rook is currently maybe about a 5.
As I always do.
Yeah.
As I always do. So that's our entire crew tonight. But for the score that we're halfway through at the moment, 2 of our players are going to retreat off screen into the void from which there is some return. And they'll be with us later when we get to the downtime for this score. So farewell, Justin and Pierre, for now. And we'll pick up more or less where we left off. I'll give a little flashback of exactly where we are. Normally I do this via players, but I forgot to assign it to them today. So I'm just going to do it myself. So essentially, this score was given to you by Cersei, the second in command of the Grinders, who are kind of, I guess, your mob bosses of the local area. And essentially, you've been sent to screw with the Bluecoats, the local kind of cop equivalents, who are receiving advanced weapons and armor from some unknown source or donor, and have built an encampment in 6 towers to test them out. And you've headed there with some satchels, which you've been told to put in good positions, then kick and run very fast away from. You've been given kind of Oriel and Rook were brought on board because they're kind of gaps in your lineup, as it were, in your level of expertise. So the Grinders thought they could help with this, and it's gone pretty smoothly so far. This encampment is quite large and well guarded, but you have managed to scout it out quite well, and then infiltrate it. Oriel and Rook have infiltrated from the rear, just kind of literally just sneaking in, and Bricks and Silver have conned their way into the front with a carriage and a blue coat uniform, a blue cloak uniform. I keep saying blue coats, blue cloak uniform. And I think where we left off was Silver and Bricks just kind of like unload, kind of looking around and getting ready to unload the package and trying to sneak it over to where they need to go, or the packages, I should say. And for their part, Oriel and Rook have actually already made their way to a rack of cannons, which seem to have been augmented with some kind of like science power, where they managed to con the people guarding it that they were there on behalf of Skurlock munitions in order to test before the demonstration. And the only other thing I'd say is, yes, there are a couple of individuals that have been noted in the encampment since the start. One, a seemingly kind of high-ranking member of the Bluecoats, and someone seen often with them, a somewhat normal but steely-looking middle-aged man who seemed to send Oriel's, what would you call them, kind of occult sensing abilities absolutely haywire, to the point where he seems to be driving away any possibility of spirits in the area around him. So that's fun.
I believe the technical term is giblets.
Yes, absolutely, getting rid of all the giblets. So there we go. Where we left off with Oriel and Rook last time, so let's pick up with Bricks and Silver this time. Ha! You probably thought I was going to say with them. Bricks and Silver, there you are. You're in position. You're just inside the boundaries of the encampment, kind of the palisade, or not really palisade, like tank trap style barricades around you. No one is paying too much attention to you since your subterfuge went so well. But what's the plan now? How are you? I believe they're testing the rifles at the moment, and the entire encampment is echoing with the crack of rifle fire. But what's the plan? You've got 2 packages to deliver and kick.
Which out of the rifle pile and the armor pile is closest?
The closest thing to you is the rifle demonstration, which is right next to the stacks of rifles, like all the racked rifles in.
Makes sense.
Sort of wooden racks.
Then I would probably navigate the wagon over to there, probably around the back from where the demonstration is, so there are less eyes. If there is around the back, or are they against a wall?
I mean, what do you mean by round the back? There's a load of targets set up. There's no wall or anything. There's just a bunch of targets. If you want, you can put the carriage round the back of the targets. But
I do not want to do that.
That does not seem like a good thing to be doing.
In my head, it's like, so there's the targets here, and then there's the people firing the rifles, and then there are crates of rifles
behind that. No, I'll do a visual sketch for you here. So the targets are like here. People are shooting here, and let's say the racks of rifles are like alongside this here.
Oh no! No, we'll never know.
Okay, we plan all the charges, kick them, run away. Done.
Right. Yes. Oh, he's coming back, I think.
I am. I return. Literally lightly brushed my mouse with one finger and hit the precise thing required to.
Just so you know, we finished the score while you were away.
So I heard. Yeah. Unfortunately, no. So I have rolled a die to see how it is. You're actually the closest thing to you is actually the racks of rifles. By sheer luck.
Perfect.
Then I guess I will pull up alongside the racks of rifles.
I mean, your carriage has already pulled up.
Oh,
like you had parked up next to another couple of wagons and carriages, I believe.
Fair enough.
Because they just send you that way. It's not like you can just drive anywhere in this encampment.
Okay, in that case, as I've already found a place to park, I'm going to open the carriage and talk to Silver.
Okay.
Fantastic parking, Bricks.
Goat didn't help.
Well, You managed it well. So it can be difficult.
Sorry, I just like, obviously it's clarification, but also I just like the idea that in your head, John, this carriage is being pulled by one goat.
Maybe it was one goat in particular that was causing me problems. You don't know.
Yeah, sure.
We all know what goat it is.
We all know.
Well, I do have this cloak, so perhaps it makes sense for me to deliver the crate nearest to the guns, since there are more eyes that way, and you could take it to the armor.
All right.
Okay. I suppose we'll have to somehow get the. We'll run back to the carriage, I suppose.
Or at the nearest exit.
Or-
I really love how the cracks in this plan are immediately starting to show.
Mm,
You will be closest to the carriage. You enter the carriage. Would there be another exit near the armor?
I mean, there are, you can clamber over these sort of like tank trap barricades, and there are gaps between them at various points. So, getting out of the encampment, especially with a little bit of athletics, would not, it's not like you have to go to the one entrance. The carriage would have to, because it's the only entrance wide enough for the carriage to leave.
I reckon I can make my own way out.
And I suppose when are we going to do this? We need to wait for the others to be ready.
Oh,
this is the other small crack in
The other small crack of
Yeah.
how Cersei said you probably want to time it together in some fashion, and nothing was done about that.
Might need a flashback for that.
Might need a flashback for that one. Which is fine. I think that's even a low stress flashback if you come up with a decent idea.
It would still be too stressful for me.
I don't actually have any good ideas, so
I'm happy to sling one in the ring if no one else comes up with an idea.
I was gonna go for a flashback, slightly building on an idea that someone has already put out of like, wait, that won't even work. I was gonna say, like, you set off a cannon when you're ready to, but then how will you know that we're in position? Oh God, we're so bad at this.
Perhaps you have a dove you can release, and I can see the dove, and then fire the cannon, and then.
Would you like me to suggest something to you?
Will it cost us?
Of course it will. Like, yeah, it's a flashback. It's probably going to cost some stress. Yeah, I'm just giving you a suggestion. It's up to you whether you take it.
I'm happy to hear suggestions.
Yeah. I mean, you could just have a flashback where you agree to kick the kick all the stuff to the timing of a chiming of the hour from a nearby clock tower.
Yeah,
that works.
Seems all right, doesn't it?
As long as there are no awkward delays. But yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
If you want that, or time it to to anything else, but yeah, I think there's multiple ways you could accomplish that, but it's up to you guys if you want anything like that.
I agree with it, but like I say, I cannot stress myself for this flashback. So
well, I don't think it's a big one. Like, and I don't think an action roll is needed for it. I think it's pretty automatic thing. So I'm happy for someone to take it just for one stress. I think it's a low stress adjustment.
I'm fine with that.
Cut back to a scene of Bricks wrinkling his brow as as you reach the outside and going, I think we should,
Wait a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that solves your problem there. Then the only problem now is I'm gonna, now that that's settled, I think what I'm gonna do is make a fortune roll to determine how close you are to that time right now.
Oh,
my
no.
God.
And I think that's only fair. What major advantage? You know what? I think we're not terribly late in the night because they're only testing the rifles now. So I think that's an advantage. So I'm going to take 2 dice for you. Can we think of anything else where you think that you might be earlier on, or that what you've done is so slick and fast that not much time has been taken up?
Well, I think
we
would have
quite a lot of time scouting.
Yes, given we scouted and given we were all very well prepared and clearly thought of this plan beforehand, I think we probably would have timed our entry as well, so as to make sure that maybe give ourselves half an hour for setup, so to make sure that we're kind of ready at the key moment.
Sure. I mean, I think that's why you've got to die in the first place. But yeah, from having the plan at all.
Yeah, thanks, Matt.
It's all right. And I think 2 dice is all right anyway, right? No one's shouting out anything else. I'm just going to roll.
Yeah, go for it.
Fair,
No, it's all right. It's 2 5s. So I'll take that as like if you, I'm going to basically start kicking you if you're dawdling, but other than that, it's not going to be a factor. So that's all right. So it sounds like to me, Silver is going to try and secrete her satchel amongst the like rifle racks in the middle of the demonstration, and Brix is going to wander over to the crates of armor and deliver his there. Does that sound right? Does that sound like what we're doing? Okay. Well, Silver, you're right there. There are quite a few Bluecoats wandering around those rifle racks, and obviously they're being fired and everything like that. And just over to one side, and you can see them quite clearly, is obviously in charge is a rather senior-looking blue cloak and still athletic man in kind of his early middle years, with a very neat beard and a prosthetic arm, who's kind of very carefully watching the display and kind of nodding and making quite frequent notes on a kind of clipboard he's got in front of him. And next to him is the other individual, the mysterious one. But I don't think you'll have taken particularly much notice of him, probably, if he's... he is quite plain-seeming, at least until he looks at you, wearing kind of riding leathers, sort of steely grey hair, quite neatly laid back across his head. But do you think there's any reason why you might pay any particular attention to him?
Not really. I think you said there are quite a few people in plain clothes rather than blue cloaks. So
yeah, there are a number of nobles and city officials also observing.
I don't think I'd have paid particular attention to him.
That seems fair. That seems fair.
I think Oriel may have at some point said something about a man in old-fashioned outfit being a bit weird.
Okay. Do you? I mean, it's up to you. If you think that this might be that gentleman, would you pay attention to him? Like, it's up to you.
I think Silver would be likely to notice an old-fashioned or outdated outfit.
Yeah, right. Yeah, with her penchant for the latest fashions.
Exactly. Yeah. So maybe in that sense, she'd recognize that this is the guy that Oriel was talking about. But
okay. Yeah, that's perfectly reasonable. I'm going to make a roll a second.
Uh-oh.
Segment of a clock tick. Silver, how are you going to go about secreting this satchel, or carrying the satchel with you in some fashion into these quite well patrolled racks of rifles?
You said they're kind of at the side of where they're firing down.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably take quite a circuitous route, like maybe head as I'm doing something else, like in a corner, and then like try and come back from an angle that is not like walking straight past all these people who are watching the presentation, and like I'd try and come at it from the side and then avoid. Yeah, but I wouldn't be stealthy. I'd just walk up to it and
acting like you meant to be there because you've got that the blue cloak.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what action roll are you going to make for this then? I think there's a number of ones you could try.
Let me. It's kind of. I actually struggle to think what this exactly fits into.
It could be a number of things. If you want some suggestions, I think there's an argument for finesse, for just kind of like dexterously, just moving in the right way and to the right place. I think also, honestly, if you wanted to share a few words with the individual, like other blue cloaks there, like you're meant to be there, then consort or sway would both be sort of angles you could take.
I think I have all of those. I think I'll go with consort. It's quite good for me, and also generally I do sway, but I feel like consort is also very much something that's silver.
Sure. Well, your position for this, I'd love to say that it's controlled, but I don't think it is, because none of these people are going to recognize you, and just you're wearing a blue cloak. That's why it's not risky, right? Is because you're wearing the blue cloak. So I'm going to put it at a no. That's why it's not desperate, rather. So I'm going to put it as risky. But I think the effect level of what you're doing is standard. I think it's like reasonable. You're. I'm assuming you're kind of like sharing a few words, maybe sort of like doing that. The thing of people expected
working
to do
late again.
Yeah, exactly. Sort of rolling your eyes at the captains and nobles walking by and stuff. Yeah, well, give me that roll. Okay. Before you do, sorry, are you pushing in any way? I don't think anyone can assist you because no one's nearby. But has anyone got a devil's bargain they want to propose? I don't have one. I prefer to leave them for later.
Okay.
Fair enough. Make your roll, friend.
I have 2 dice. I got a 1 and a 2.
That's not terribly good. It has to be said. In fact, one could say that's the second worst dice roll you could possibly have. So I'm just going to move you to a desperate position at this point. I'm just going to, you kind of wander around, as you said, you take like a circuitous route and you come around and you pass plenty of blue cloaks who barely look at you or like just give you a glance and then look down at what they're doing, kind of like rummaging in crates or like, like guarding the barricades and such like. And as you sort of meander around and approach where the firing demonstration is happening, none of the nobles or anything observe you. But as you do so, a blue cloak steps out from among the racks, quite an officious looking woman with little kind of like, what are they called? Like pinch glasses on, like rectangular pinch glasses and very tightly tied back hair. And she turns around, like immediately looks at you and looks down at, she's carrying a clipboard of her own as well. And she looks up and says, "You're not on my duty roster. What's your name?"
The name's Emmeline. I've just been told to deliver this package. I don't think I'm on any roster. I've been sent from night market, some late shipment.
Most irregular. I don't like this at all. I think you're going to need an action roll, friend, and it's going to be a desperate one. Because as we know, the worst enemy of any endeavor is bureaucracy. So what are we rolling to try and negotiate this officious blue cloak? And as Pierre points out in the private chat, you're going to get an XP for this no matter what, 'cause it's a desperate roll.
Hooray. I think it has to be sway, realistically.
Sure. I think that's the one to pick. Yeah, absolutely. Are you going to push yourself in any way, or kind of does anyone have a devil's bargain they wish to offer? I will offer you a devil's bargain in keeping with the many devil's bargains I offered last week. The devil's bargain, once if you take it, will involve the ticking of a clock.
Done. I'm taking it.
Wow, no hesitation.
Absolutely no self-control.
The clock could be something really good. I don't want to fail and just be
It's
killed
Matt.
by
You've
some-
played games with him before.
The clock is for future Silver to worry about.
Yeah,
This is
sure.
for present Silver. Okay. In that case, I will roll 3 dice and hope for success.
This Blades in the Dark session, a microcosm of the climate crisis.
Malik's far too happy about this.
I got a 6, a 1, and a 4.
Hey, there we go. That's pretty damn good. Don't forget your XP for the desperate roll, and which should go under whatever it was, right? Resolve. Yeah. Yeah. So, remind me again of what you said. Kind of.
I said, I didn't. I'm not on any duty roster. I've just got this late shipment in. I've been told I've come from night market. I don't know what it is, or just been told to bring it here. Put it by the weapons.
She kind of looks down at her list and says, "Well, I've had my run-ins with night market before, and I'll be sending them a sternly worded missive. Go about your business."
Thank you very much. Apologies for the intrusion. I'll be on my way immediately.
Okay, there we go. And Silver disappears among the weapon racks to find a good spot. Let's hop over to Bricks. So Bricks, you're in a bit more of a difficult situation here. You are not dressed as a blue cloak. You're not dressed as someone who belongs there. You do not look upper class. You do not look like a blue cloak. You're going to have to navigate the lion's share of this compound to get to the armor crates, which are currently just like stacked around. They don't have too many guards directly around them, but there's quite a lot of people patrolling around. How are you making your way over there?
I'm intending to look like a humble delivery person.
A humble, towering delivery person.
I mean, I'm big and strong because I'm carrying a crate.
Sure. Oh yeah, I think
and
we did.
I've got the...
Did we say that the satchel? You have a crate to put the satchel in, right? Yeah,
Yep.
I think we did say that. Okay. Yeah. You know what I'm going to do? First off, I'm going to make a fortune roll, and I don't think anything can be added or reduced for this. A fortune roll to see how much your crate looks like the armor crates. How about that?
All right.
It looks nothing like the armor crate.
Damn it.
Oh no!
It has Skurlock munitions written on in pencil.
Yeah. Or it just has, Skurlock Munitions rival company written on it.
Can I apply for a flashback at this point?
Yes.
So we've done our research around about here, and we've also already had a flashback to do some research about Skurlock. Could we not have at least made the effort to mock the crates up?
Well, we said when you first investigated, you identified the name as Skurlock Munitions. So while it doesn't look like it, maybe you can have a flashback to stencil on Skurlock Munitions in the meantime. You know what? I'm going to charge you 1 stress for this, and I'm also going to ask for an action roll to see how well you have stenciled Skurlock Munitions on with this, Oriel. So you pick me an action that you think applies here in some way, and you give me a roll for that.
I like the idea of study, because I think it's
that's reasonable.
The other one is sway, which is would be if the crate were a person or some kind of golem.
The crate is not a person in this case.
Gosh darn it! I will take a go at study.
I think that's very reasonable. I think that's very reasonable indeed, and I will give that great effect. And I will say that the roll itself is controlled because you're not
So that's a single dice unless someone can help in the flashback situation.
I think someone can help in the flashback, but it will cost you the normal stress to help.
Have
you only got 1 in study?
Oh, of course, because you need to.
Have you got 1 in study, Chris? For some reason,
I do. Yes.
All right, fair enough.
I think it was. We were debating it over the course of the character generation meeting.
If you knew this was the crate you were going to carry, John, would you have helped out?
Can you afford?
Can you afford to help out?
No, I'm on the line. But you know what? The crate was Brick's idea, so Bricks will help out.
Fair enough. So that's a stress for Bricks. What are you on then? Are you on like 8 stress or something?
I'm only on 6.
Oh, that's all right. That's fine. You got plenty.
Yeah.
So 2 dice for you then, Chris, on your stenciling roll.
Here we go.
Don't
It's time for. It's better not be too stressful, or it might give me an art attack. A 2 and a 3. I don't know if 3, 4, 5 does a 3 win.
3 is the highest you can get on a d6. So this stencil does not look like the Skurlock Munitions logo. Oriel was copying it just from memory, from glancing and seeing it over by the cannons, and no, it does not look like it. Therefore, I'm going to say that I'm not going to put you in a worse position than you were in the beginning, but I am going to make it, it's going to be risky. I'd say it's risky.
Great.
Yeah. So why don't you, how you tell me how, given that you are holding a crate with a stencil on it that does not look like Skurlock Munitions, but whether you know, that's another matter. What action roll are you making to get across this encampment without encountering significant resistance? Indeed.
I'm trying to think whether an argument could be made for command. For basically, oi, get out of the way.
Sure. Just addressing people firmly enough that they just instinctively avoid you. Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I think it's more difficult. It's both more and less difficult among blue cloaks, because on the one hand, they'll probably be conditioned a bit more to following orders, but on the other hand, not from someone who isn't a blue cloak. So I think it swings and roundabouts. I think that balances out at standard, at like a standard effect. So, and it's risky. I'm going to offer you a devil's bargain.
I'm willing to listen.
Tick of a clock.
Are we allowed to know how far along the clock is? Is it one of them clocks?
I will answer. I don't think I'm generally obliged to tell you any of how far the clocks are along.
It's true. I'm just asking from the goodness of your heart.
From the goodness of my heart, I will tell you it's past halfway.
I think there's already been a lot of clicks on that clock.
Maybe.
The question is, do you feel lucky?
The clock is ticking, John. Literally and figuratively.
I'm going to take the devil's bargain.
You're going to take the devil's bargain. Of course you are. So, the best imagery in my head from this score so far has been just an image of Oriel standing behind Bricks with like a doubtful look on their face as Bricks is stenciling something like, there. Skurlock Munitions, yes.
Yeah, I don't think Brick's spelling ability is desperately.
No, probably not.
Renowned.
Go on then, give us a command roll. Is this 3 dice for you?
Yes. 6, 4, 1.
There we go.
Nice.
So, you make your way across the encampment. Every time a blue cloak comes near you, you're just like, well, you tell me. You tell me how you walk and how you act.
I mean, pretty much what I said. That, like, I'm carrying the box as if it's heavier than it actually is. And just an awful lot of, oi, do you want this landing on you? Move.
Absolutely. Firm and in control. That's Bricks. So you do that. You stalk across the the encampment and you reach the place, there's a number of individuals. There are a number of blue cloaks, like some of them like trying on the armor. They look like they're gearing up, presumably for their own demonstration. And there's kind of blue cloaks having the armor fitted on them. It's kind of like leathers with metal plates over it. And there's others kind of like getting out more armor and kind of like, you know, putting them, hanging them up for others to arrive and wear them. There's kind of some bustling, but it's not like the firing range. How are you going to go about secreting yourself and the package? Assuming that's what you want to do.
It was, yeah.
Do you want me to visit other characters and come back to you?
What could you... Is there around the back of this pile?
I mean, yeah, there naturally will be, because the demonstration is going to be happening in visibility of everyone. So yeah, there's like an area behind where some of the crates are, where you could perhaps be more secret. But there'll still be kind of some guard patrols around there, between there and the edge of the barricades.
I think I'm going to go round the back. I'm going to lean the crate against the side, and I'm going to, rather than appearing to be someone sneaky who is up to no good, I'm going to appear as a delivery man who's slightly bunking off his job.
Okay.
I'm not trying to look sneaky. I'm trying to look bored.
Sure. And how are you going to achieve this in terms of action rolls?
That's also a very good question.
Isn't it?
I think, have we used finesse for acting before?
No. Yeah, like physical acting. I could see it being a thing that works. Yeah, totally. I don't think it's entirely apt, but neither is it horrible.
Would consort be more?
I think consort would have a higher effect, yeah, because consort includes like making people easy with your presence and stuff, right? So I think consort is probably a much better, a more effective action roll choice, yeah.
So I'm more sort of like still acting casual, but with a little bit of a don't tell the gaffer.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know.
Like, it's only one dice, but...
Okay. I'm not going to offer you a devil's bargain for this one.
That's fair enough.
So, do you want to push yourself in any way?
No.
Okay, this is a risky roll, just so you know.
This is a coin flip.
With standard effect.
This game is surprisingly tense.
Yeah.
I've changed my mind. I am going to push myself.
Okay.
I'm very indecisive. I'm going to try really hard to be casual.
That's 2 stress, so you're up to your limit now, right?
I've got 1, yeah. Is it when you fill your tracker or when you go over your tracker?
When you fill it.
Yeah.
So don't take any more stress.
Roll a 6.
There we go. Yeah, you're standing there. You've already said what you're doing. Occasionally, blue cloak patrols go near you, and a couple of them kind of look over at you. But you sort of like, kind of a bit of mugging and a bit of kind of like, like, don't
waving
tell
a cigarette
sort of thing. Yeah, absolutely. And you are just lurking there, ready to hear the chimes of the bell. And so far, I don't think anyone's spent an inordinate amount of time, so we won't be concerned about getting it done before the bell. But let's hop back over to Rook and Oriel, over by the cannons, as they are looking at kind of like how they're going to set up this satchel or whatever. I think, as I said, there's a couple of Bluecoats nearby who wandered off very fast as soon as you said you were from Skurlock Munitions. And one of them is definitely glancing your way every now and then with a sort of maybe a slightly intimidated and fearful look on his face, even. What are you going to do, guys?
Well, I think for the sake of appearances, so I as part of my equipment and the deception last week, I made sure I had my fine tinker's tools with me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, I'll also have my wrecking kit with me as well, which fine wrecking tools, which will be 2 load. But I think I'll be, sort of hunched over one of these cannons and sort of going through the motions of investigating the workings. Maybe with a view of actually maybe disassembling it and nicking components if I can without
okay, sure, yeah.
making it too obvious. But that is my skill. That's the saboteur skill is when I wreck, I can break things without making it obvious. So
yeah, sure. So you want to kind of sabotage some of these cannons, get some of the gubbins out for your own personal use. Because I guess you're there now. Like, so you know, if you're there with a satchel, you can just leave it next to one of the cannons and give it a kick and run away, right? So
yeah.
Because I think the original idea was like a distraction. But I feel, tell me if I'm wrong. I feel like we may have moved beyond the need for that, given how easily everyone's gone to their place. Although you don't know that, I suppose. Chris, you're on mute, by the way.
I was sighing exasperated at your use of the word easy.
Yeah, I don't think we need to, cause any huge explosions.
Okay. Oriole, what are you doing while you're there, if anything? Are you just kind of backing up Rook or doing your own thing?
Yeah, so the conceit here was that I was actually the sway man, so I went over and made the roll and convinced the guards that I was the technician and this was my assistant. So with kind of under the auspices of kind of directing him, I'll also be kind of keeping sketch and making sure that we're as out of view as we can be given the situation and that we're not sticking around for too long. I'd also we have a satchel with us, don't we?
You do have the satchel with you, yeah.
So I'm just going to make sure that's kind of at ankle height at all times, and I'll be lifting it around as though it was a box of tools.
Sure, absolutely. Well, then, I think we've got 2 action rolls there. And I think what we have is what we're going to do Rook's action roll first, and then we'll see how well, essentially, Oriole is covering it up. Although you can wreck without being detected anyway. But how well Oriole is kind of keeping watch and so on and so forth. So Rook, I'm assuming that's going to be a wreck roll for trying to get as many valuable gubbins out of this thing as you can.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, why don't you give me? This is a controlled roll, I think, and it's probably going to be a great effect because it's precisely what it's for. Are you? I guess you could get assistance from Chris if you wanted for a stress, or you can push yourself. But do I have a devil's bargain for you here? I don't think I do.
I think I'll just roll 2 dice. So wreck is 2 for me. So
sure.
I don't want to push myself because that would put me on 6. Out of 9 stress, which is a little bit squeaky.
That would be nightmarish, eh, John? Be on 6.
Well, I rolled a 2 and a 5.
Okay. Well, that was a controlled situation, so it's fairly straightforward here. Yeah, I think we can have just a reduced effect. I think here would be fine. What you can extract some material out of here. What it appears to be is a very complex electro generator, a bit more complex than any you might have seen before. Really cutting edge stuff, and it is marked along the side of it, kind of imprinted, folded into the metal with the Skurlock Munitions logo. And, rummaging around inside it, and it's up to you what you take from this. Because you're a leech, I believe, you can be like a kind of gadgeteer, right? You can get stuff for like, do you need components for that process as part of like the building of things?
Good question. I think it's possibly easier if you have access to stuff yourself.
Okay.
I think heat goes up if you're asking
Yeah.
other people.
Well, you know what? I don't know. You can take your pick. Either note somewhere on your sheet that you have like some gubbins salvaged from this electro generator, or you can just take one coin, and what you'll do is you'll actually be taking the gubbins, and then you can sell them on after the adventure or whatever, after the score. So it's up to you which one of those you take.
Okay. I think I'll take the gadgets, actually.
I think that's reasonable. Chris, how is Oriel keeping watch over this situation?
Yeah, so kind of not hamming up, but executing succinctly, the kind of giving directions for what he has to do. You'll notice Oriel, they have a way of speaking which is kind of quite hesitant when they're talking normally, but at the minute it's kind of very flowing, kind of normal banter. It's like interesting how the mask is slipped as the mask has gone on. So I will be doing kind this like, by its way.
Kind of like a core blimey, what have they got set up here? Look, they've got the proton wires all around the wrong typical sort of channeling kind of, in your mechanic.
Yeah, workmanlike. Like it is a sway roll, I think.
Yep, that sounds like a good choice to me.
I'd like to push myself.
Okay. I will offer you a devil's bargain if you want to take it, and you know what it's in return for.
Reject that out of hand, sir. Because I have 2 dice now, and I'm reasonably confident.
Okay, go for it.
Here we go.
That's a 2 and a 5
situation as well, just so you know.
So that was a 2 and a 5.
A 2 and a 5, you say? Okay. Yeah, sure. Let's do this. I think that you seem to be convincing the Bluecoats nearby that you're meant to be there and everything, and they're kind of like half ignoring you, but just going back to talk to each other, kind of maybe without that slight hesitancy they had before when you mentioned the company you were there from. And it all seems to be going well, and Rook is kind of like packing up the stuff that he nabbed from inside the electro generator into like presumably into like a little in my head it's like a little like a lunch pail box sort of thing that you've got, but as he does so, but not to risk people noticing what Rook is doing, but just one of the Bluecoats kind of wanders off. The one who wanders over, the one who looked maybe slightly less intimidated than the other one, and is just kind of like peering around and going, is it all done then? I've always wondered how these things work.
Yeah, I think we're about ready to wrap up.
Okay. So it's all going to be all right then?
Yeah. It's pretty nominal. I think everything's going to be good to go.
Okay. Can I have a look inside?
Well, I'm not sure. We don't want to risk any injuries or accidents. Maybe after the demonstration, come and find me. I'll take you through. I'll tear one down. We're probably going to have to disassemble a few of them. To be honest with you, not guaranteeing all of them are going to fire first time.
All right. I think this is an action roll.
It's going to be another sway.
Another sway. Do you want? I think Rook can definitely provide assistance if he wants to for a stress.
Yeah, sure. I'll do that. Yeah,
I've got no devil's bargain for you.
Great. Okay, 2 dice it is. A 6 and a 4.
There we go. Rook, you tell me how you're helping with this, because Chris has run through like what Oriel does. Where you tell me what Rook does to back this up.
I mean, I guess I'll sort of these things will look pretty complex, won't they? So I'll be theatrically opening one up and just sort of revealing the massive complexity, and if there's any sort of things that spark or whatnot, I might kind of trigger a little spark or something like that.
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
A bit of a show,
like, Yeah, like open it a little bit, a spark comes out, like because he kind of is a bit taken back by it and goes, oh yeah, all right, oh yeah, sure. Got got to be fully trained, I suppose. Yeah. I'll stick to the patrolling. Have a good night. He turns around and kind of wanders off. So I think about 5 minutes after that, friends, scoundrels, the bell chimes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll a fortune roll for each of you. Because I'm assuming as soon as that bell is chiming, silver secreted among the gun racks, bricks lurking at the back of those armor crates, Rook and Oriel calmly hanging out, making technical adjustments to the cannons, are going to very sharply and directly deal a big kick to those satchels. These are fortune rolls. Basically, if these go well for you, you don't need to make a rec roll. If they don't go well for you, you do need to make a rec roll. How about that? So, I am rolling for bricks first. Who has rec?
I have rec.
Okay, I'm going to give an extra dice to the people who have rec. So, good luck, Silver. Rolling for bricks. Okay. Rolling for silver. Okay. Rolling for Rook and Oriel. Okay. Bricks, your satchel gives an odd crunching noise as you... tell me how you do it.
I mean, I was directed to kick it, so I think I'm basically more stomping on it, I guess.
Just a good old stomp, yeah.
Yeah.
It gives a crunching sound as though some glass mechanism inside has shattered. And like also a kind of glugging noise, as if liquid has started to flow or move around something.
That sounds about right.
Silver, how do you break this thing? As a less stompy person, maybe. Got your cane?
I'm thinking what, like, I have load to spare, so I could have like something even better than a cane with me potentially. I could have have a hammer.
Yeah.
A brick.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm gonna say I've brought a hammer with me that I've tucked in my cloak. I've got a big cloak, tucked the hammer somewhere in it, and I'm just smashing this thing with a hammer.
Absolutely. You bring the hammer down. There is a smashing sound and a liquidy glug. Rook and Oriel, how are you doing it?
Well, so Rook has been, tinkering away in the mechanisms with, fine tools and little sort of loops and things like that. And then will, from his cloak, his coat, will pull out a large pry bar, which he's also been carrying as part of the wrecking kit, and just overhead smash, just
like absolutely leather it. There is a crunch and a liquidy gurgle. You all succeeded on that without the need for a rec roll. It is time to get out of there, friends. How are we achieving this, and what action rolls are we each making to do this? And this is going to be individual action rolls, because obviously, although I think Rook and Oriel will be able to assist each other if they want. How are we doing it? Let's go via a random roll to whoever we're addressing first, and it's going to be bricks.
My plan was to basically run straight for the perimeter and
just absolutely hoof it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Classic bricks.
And what action roll are you making for that?
I am going to roll finesse, but I'm also going to use the climbing tools that I brought with me, because I have plenty of load left over.
Okay, sure. Are you aware, because I believe we've encountered this before, that if what you're looking for is like directly like athletic movement, then prowl, I think, is actually technically the thing for that. You can use whatever you want, but I believe we looked at this before because we thought finesse must be like that stuff as well. But I think prowl isn't just stealth; it's basically any sort of physically exertive movement. But I could be wrong, and now I can't find the definitions in the book.
Basic.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, because finesse is dexterous manipulation or subtle misdirection, whereas prowl is traversing skillfully and quietly.
Well, that's a problem.
Yeah, it literally has running and leaping across rooftops as an example. So I think you can still do it with finesse, because you can say I'm going calmly and quietly, and I'm going to traverse the kind of get the climbing gear out and traverse the barricade, sort of like in a calm and quiet fashion. Like, you can still do it. I'm going to say it's definitely I'd say it's probably a risky role as opposed to a controlled role. Because there are some people like moving quite fast around the encampment, like jogging around and stuff. So someone running for it, people just think, oh, what are they going to do? Because you're leaving. It's not like, and you're not carrying like armfuls of rifles with you or something. So
how sturdy is the barricade? As an eyeballing it.
I like where this is going. It is something that has been rigged up to protect this area temporarily. So the answer is it's not flimsy and fragile, but it is definitely symbolic rather than intending to fight back waves of opponents. We're going with wreck, aren't we?
I was going to say, what about one big lad with some kind of hammer?
I mean, there's only one way to find out, John. I'm not going to tell you the result of the roll before you've made it. I will tell you now. I'll get. Yeah, it's still going to be risky, but you'll have more dice for it, right?
Yes. Well, versus finesse would be the same.
Right? Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, if it'd be the same, it's up to you. But could you give yourself like an advantage with have you got enough load for wrecking tools?
I do.
Because that will give you a better effect.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay.
Let's go for it.
Give me that roll then, please. I am not going to offer you a devil's bargain.
Is anyone else going to offer me a devil's bargain?
No.
I think you know my position on devil's bargains.
All right, I'm only rolling the one die then. Right. 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
What I am going to do is run through everyone's roll like we did just now with the fortune rolls, and then I'll tell you what happens.
Okay.
How about that? So next we have Rook and Oriel. How are you two getting out of this encampment?
Well, I would probably be wanting to sort of calculate the fastest route out that avoids any patrols or guards. So I'd be looking to try and use survey for that if I can get away with it.
Sure.
And I think I might push myself as well.
Sure.
So that would take me up to 8 out of 9 stress. But
see, Oriel seemed to be nodding in agreement. How about you guys do a group action for this?
Okay.
Does that sound appealing? I would say that whoever is leading it should be the person with less stress. But I think there's a maximum of 2 stress out of this anyway.
Let me see.
Because your maximum stress from a group action is however many people are rolling in it, right?
I'm on stress 7 of 9.
Okay. What's Rook on?
I am on 6 of 9.
Okay. If you don't push yourself first, you will gain a maximum of 2 stress from this.
Okay, well that works for me.
It's definite. I think it's. How many points in survey do you have, Oriel?
Just Chris, myself.
Sorry.
Yeah. I have 1 point.
I have 2.
It's actually kind of a crapshoot then, I guess. I think it's still a better roll because you're not guaranteed to take 2 stress. If you see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's as many dice being rolled, but you don't have to take 2 stress. You might not. You might take 1 or 0. Does that make sense?
Sounds good. Yeah.
So between the two of you, you're surveying and trying to find a gap in the patrols, right, and nip out undramatically. Sure. In that case, why don't you both make your survey rolls, please?
So presumably, I roll my 2 survey dice,
and Chris rolls his. And basically, for every person whose highest one is a 1, 2, or 3, you take a stress.
5.
My 2 dice were 1 and 3. So
okay, so you take 1 stress, which is still better than you would have had from pushing yourself. But Oriel, looking round, perhaps your instincts as a whisper kind of urge you in the right direction. Something in the air that feels better about one direction over another, and you move forwards. But of course, I'm not going to tell you exactly what happens until after Silver makes her way out from the compound. Silver, how are you getting out? And are you bothering with the carriage?
I think yes. The carriage was closest to the gun rack.
Yep, it's close there, and it's quite close to the main exit as well.
So I'm gonna dash over to the carriage and then try and get these goats to take me out of this compound as fast as possible.
Even that one goat.
Yeah,
you know the goat I mean.
He gets on better with me. Bricks. He doesn't like bricks. But
and what action roll are you making for this?
I'm gonna make finesse. I think that is meant to be the one for like controlling.
Yeah, I think that's really appropriate for like controlling the carriage. So yeah, I think so. Okay. I will offer you a devil's bargain.
Yes.
Who knows his mark? Who knows the mark now?
In return for a tick on the clock, which happens.
I might also push myself. I don't want to get stuck in a compound with a load of Bluecoats that's also probably exploding. So yeah, I'm going to push myself, and that brings me up to 3 dice.
Okay. Make your roll.
Okay. My best result was a 4.
Okay. Yeah. All right then. So this is what happens. The first thing I'm going to tell you about is what has happened to the encampment. So the encampment kind of probably about 30 seconds after you start making your way out, there is a sudden, very deafening lack of noise. Immediately followed by a rush of very hot air that throws you forward in whatever endeavor you're doing, and your ears slowly kick back in, a whining tinnitus entering into your brain, and any of you peering back over your shoulders will see 3 small green-tinted mushroom clouds fusing into one that rise over the encampment. You can't really hear anything at the moment, but you can see blue cloaks running around. Clearly, a lot of them kind of screaming. Several of them and several nobles as well, kind of on fire and flailing around themselves as the greenish fire covers them head to foot. It's safe to say the encampment has been destroyed, and a great deal of the munitions, presumably as well. Bricks, you battered your way through the barricade and was just kind of like stumbling your way through it. Kind of blue cloaks looking at you, kind of pointing and opening their mouths to yell at you as you wielded. Well, let's say you had that sledgehammer on you that you used on that set of stairs so ably before. You batter through the barricade, kick the last remnants of it and stalk forward before the blast happens. Rook and Oriel, you have a similar thing only you're kind of like just squeezing yourself between 2 parts of the barricade as patrols head in the wrong direction on either side of you. And Silver, you've wheeled the carriage around and are just about wheeling it, kind of leading the goats out through the exits. The blue cloak who dealt with you before, kind of like she's giving you a friendly wave. But given that none of you got a 6, here's what I'm going to do. Each one of you is going to take a level 1 harm. Okay. And it's up to you what that is, as long as it's like appropriate from being very near a very large blast. Maybe a turned ankle, maybe some light burns, maybe the tinnitus won't go away. Something that you feel is appropriate from the situation, I think is the thing to do. Yeah. So why don't we go around the group one by one with those picks? Who's got one already? Okay, Chris, go ahead.
I was thrown to the floor in the explosion and absolutely fucked my back. Like, it's wrenched. It's pulled you back.
Yeah, pulled you back. Which, as anyone knows, especially those of us among the crew who are over 35 years of age, is no small thing. Let me tell you, young people. Yeah. Who's got another?
I was. Is deafened okay? If I was turning around and just sort of,
or like hard of
burst
hearing,
eardrum or something.
It's just a level 1 harm though, so probably not burst eardrums.
Okay,
I think that would be a bit harsher, but yeah. Sam, how we doing?
I was thinking the goats are probably a bit spooked by the huge explosion, and I'm holding on to like some reins or something, so maybe it's fucked up my hand and arm, and just holding on to these goats that are suddenly like lurching forward. Or
sure, you've like pulled your shoulder out of joint or something like that. Yeah, absolutely. John, how about you?
I was thinking maybe as he's running away from the barricade, Bricks gets an amount of like splinters or shrapnel just like in the back of his head.
Some of those crates, like you just had a load of splinters, just wooden matter blown into the back of your head. Yeah, that seems good. That sounds good.
Oh, I don't like that.
Take it back, John.
So, with a special D6 here that I seem to have picked up. No, we'll use one of the ones I normally use, otherwise it's weird. I'm going to finish this as you scramble. Presumably you got some kind of rendezvous point or something like that. I am going to make a fortune roll. I think that went relatively smoothly and no one got uncovered. So I will give you a die for that. But I will also remove a die because of the nature of your exiting. I thought a couple of you weren't that subtle. Like if you'd all sneaked out, I probably wouldn't penalize it. But one of you battered your way loose, and the other one was riding a big carriage, probably as fast as they could out. So I will remove that for that. So you're down to 1 die. So the result of this, and you will know some indication of whether it's gone well or not for you, because the higher the better. This is for the final tick on the clock, because it's 1 off. So I'm rolling for your guys' favor, so the higher the better for you. Oh, my sweet summer children. That was a 3. The final tick on the clock happens. And let's randomly pick someone. Let's randomly pick a member of the group. Bricks.
It's always me.
As you stumble your way free of the barricade, kind of clutching the back of your hand, kind of coming away bloody and pierced with splinters. Presumably, do you think that this reaction made you look back to see what kind of maybe you thought at first you were shot or something, and you turn around to look, you see something in the the kind of hurricane of flame now erupting above the encampment. There are still people running around. Some of them are somewhat safe, some of them burning to death. And among it, you kind of blink and see that one person also seems to be consumed with flame. And then they walk out of it. Out of the center of that pillar of green flame, the steely-looking, almost plain-seeming older gentlemen in their outdated riding leathers with their grey hair and a cold, calculating look on their face. And they step out of that pillar of flame, completely calm, completely free of the fire. And they look at you, make the briefest of eye contact, and then just tilt their head, curiously registering you. And you flee off into the darkened streets of Doskvol. That's the end of the score.
That is twice that I've been clocked by something that doesn't belong here, and I don't like it.
I'm sure they would say that Brix is the one who does not belong here. So there we go. Good fun, folks. We're going to kick into a downtime session now. And for that, we can bring on our other players as well. We can bring on Pierre and Justin, please. And yeah, we can have some good fun with this downtime session. Yeah. Was that good to watch, Pierre, Justin?
Yeah. It was good. I've watched the last episode as well, and all I can say is not enough clocks. You know, there's no such thing as a bad clock, people. No such thing.
Yeah. Absolutely, no such thing.
And also, like, I love the way that I'm not here, and Pierre's not here. The tasks are carried out with a meticulous, administrative bent. You know what I mean? Like, it's very much like, we'll get the paperwork in order to convince the guards that they can get Form 2B signed, and once they've seen the paperwork is there, they'll have to yield under the might of our bureaucracy.
But also, like, a lot more effectively. Like,
well,
I do feel like that goes unsaid. That, like, you know,
yeah,
sure.
Yeah. So we're going to cover some downtime here. Before we do so, we had a last downtime session where Pierre and Justin weren't present for it, but they had been involved in the score before that. And what's happened basically is Pierre hasn't gone through the downtime yet, so we'll just do it alongside this. Justin has, but we'll do it. He'll just tell us what he's done, basically.
Through the magic of role-playing camera action.
But there is just a little bit of administration to carry over from that, which is, I believe, that both Echo and Three Sheets are owed a coin from the keepers' coins. Because I think it was determined that a coin would go to everyone who was on that score, so everyone but Silver. So Echo and Three Sheets, you can take a coin each. I think that's the only thing to carry over, right? Yeah.
I think we also didn't do the crew XP last time we did downtime.
No, we may not have done, in fact. And also, yeah, we may not have done. So let's. Are we sure about that? I'm not sure about that.
We can check the vault.
You're on mute, John.
I think I remember thinking it, and then by the time I remembered, we'd gone off air.
Okay, well, I think quite possibly. What we'll do the XP, and then we'll go back and check and take it off if we're wrong. But I think you're probably right. I think we probably didn't. So in that case, well, let's take care of that first, then, shall we? So this is going back to. Actually, you know what? Let's not do this on cam, because then we're talking about a score that was like 2 weeks ago for people. We'll do it after the session. We'll do it off air. It'll be fine. It's not that interesting anyway, right?
For viewers at home, if you like going over XP charts,
that's
then
your favorite part.
Let us know.
Yeah. So, well, what we'll do as well is through the course of this downtime, if people can do their own advancement, which is on page 48 if you've got the Blades in the Dark PDF. Just do your own advancement, that's fine. Obviously, also counting any XP you've got for desperate rolls, whether that's in the last score or this recent one. Take care of your own advancement, and we'll do both crew advancements at the end. Because I don't think they're that interesting to watch us ponder about. Which means we just need to start addressing the downtime for this most recent escapade. So let's talk about rep and coin. You earn 2 rep per score by default, and the target of the score is certainly a higher tier than you, the Bluecoats. Blue Cloaks, god damn it. They're tier 3. So I think you're going to be earning 4 rep in total for this, which is pretty sweet.
Nice.
What's your rep standing at now, John? In fact, John, why don't you go ahead and share the keeper sheet with us? You can do that, right?
One moment.
Can't we spend rep for additional tasks as well, which might be worth doing?
You can, yeah.
Yes. There we go.
There we go. There's the keeper sheet. So your rep is currently at 6, which is pretty good, right?
I'm going to spend some rep.
Racking up again. So just so you know how it works, because obviously you spent your rep before to go up from tier 0 to tier 1. You won't go up next time you want to spend. You won't go from tier 1 to tier 2. You'll go from a weak hold of tier 1 to a strong hold of tier 1. So it's kind of split out. I don't kind of know why they don't just run tier 0 to 10 rather than that, but whatever. It's fine. Let's now go into the coin you've earned from this. So I think this was in a way, it's a big score, but I don't think it's a big paying score. And also, I think the grinders will probably pay you less than they normally might pay outside contractors for this, because they view you as their sub gang sort of thing. So I think that's going to be a 6 coin payment. And if you want to pay the grinders for it, and I don't think you have an option realistically here, I think, because they're paying you, so they're just going to remove their payment from it automatically. I think that payment will be 2, because it is now your tier +1. So you gain 4 coin from that. There were 4 members on this operation. I think it would be remiss if Rook and Oriel did not take their coin as part of the payment, at the very least.
Seeing as how they're only half members of the Keepers,
yeah,
that does seem.
So are we putting the remaining 2 in the stash, or are Bricks and Silver taking that individually?
Silver wants to take hers since she was not paid for the previous score and needs some coin.
And I think Bricks wants payment for damages rendered.
Sure, that's fine. In that case, take your coin. So let's talk about heat.
How bad of an idea is it to actually attack the police?
Yeah, probably not great. So we're going to start on 4 heat, actually, not 6. I think it's loud and chaotic. It's big explosions, but it's not like... I think 6 needs to be real big. Like, you detonate, like, a government building or something like that. But I'm going to add 1 heat for a high-profile or well-connected target, because if that isn't the cops, I don't know what is. Add +2 heat if killing was involved. So that is a total of 7 heat.
Right. Our tracker is filled with 1 left.
Yep.
But don't forget, we take 1 heat off because of our
you
smuggler's bonus.
Sorted. So when the tracker is full, you mark a wanted level and clear all the heat. So you're wanted level 2, but your heat
people are going to have to start going to prison soon.
They may, or there will start to be consequences. Who'd have thought there'd be consequences with this blowing up the police? So let's move on to entanglements. So your heat, your wanted level is how many dice get rolled. So that's 2. And your heat is 0, though, right? So maybe this won't be so bad. Ooh, what's that? That's interesting. Okay. Oh God.
A hitherto undiscovered side of the D6.
Yeah. That's interesting. What does that mean? A +3 status faction. Oh, I see. John, can you go to what all the other factions think of you? Are any of them at +3? I don't think they are they? You haven't got any like really friendly factions or anything.
Doesn't look like it. We've got the Dockers that are +2, but that's
Although, can you put the Grinders up by 1? While we're here.
Yeah.
That just puts them at +1, right? Okay, you actually avoid entanglements.
Cool.
Because you have no +3 factions.
Nobody cares about us enough.
No one cares about you enough, so it's all good. Cool. All right. Then we just move on to downtime activities, I think. So we can, I think we can take the old sheet away there. Thank you, John. We both tried to do it at the same time.
You go.
I'll go. There we go. Lovely. Oh God, that's so many cams. So this is great now. This is like one of those celebrity Zoom calls that they had back at the beginning of the lockdown. So should I go at the bottom there? Yeah, let's not put Justin's with the group there. That's nice. Okay, so downtime activities. Let's start going through them. Obviously, like I say, Justin's already taken his, but when I roll him, he'll just tell us what he did.
That's true.
And then it's all sorted. Can you remind us, please, John, what clocks, what projects the keepers have going on at the moment?
We have scroll. Track down info on Dalma's client, which has 3 ticks left, and track down info on Steiner, which I think is no longer.
No, yeah, it's still there. It's
thing?
just it's a separate thing to the job offer that you had that's expired.
That's got 7 ticks left.
Okay, so there we go. So let's pick someone to start. Justin, why don't you tell us one of 3 sheets downtime activities that he's done?
I went to the den, did some stress relief.
Mm-hmm.
Partook
of your filthy. When I say filthy drugs, I don't mean to overly badmouth drugs. It's just the drugs that 3 sheets is taking.
Only the worst.
Definitely filthy drugs.
It's the type of vice is stupor. So it's not like it's like pleasure that I'm doing this for. I'm doing this to get wrecked.
A connoisseur of psychedelics or anything.
No.
You are going to the Doskvol equivalent of an opium den, which is the basements of the Red Lamp brothel in Silkshore. Is your particular den of choice. How did you do with that stress roll?
I think I did pretty well. I think I lost about 3 or 4 stress. I haven't got it exactly to hand at the moment, but I'm down to 3 stress now.
Cool. All right, let's see who we want to talk to next. It is Pierre. What is Echo doing? And shall we talk a little bit about Echo's return to the Keepers? Because we last saw Echo plunging into the waterways of Doskvol again, this time from the walls of the Skovlan consulate. Echo's stress pushed past its limits, and she's come back with a second trauma. So why don't you talk to us a bit about that, and then about your first downtime activity?
Yeah, so the second trauma that I've picked up is ironically reckless. I think I have stared at death too much, and now I have become sort of too casual about it. And I don't see the point in dodging so much or avoiding problems. I seem to just be able to keep going, and my body keeps going. And so, as I woke up, I heard, I heard terrible things, but I'm still haunted. And my first activity is going to be starting a long-term project to attempt to win back my friend Darmot of the Bluecoats.
Yeah, because Darmot was alienated during an entanglement, right? Because he had too much heat. He couldn't deal with you anymore because he is what an ideal time to get back into the fold with him after definitely nothing's been done against the Bluecoats.
I mean, absolutely. I didn't know that this was what what we were going for. So
that's fair enough.
Perfect.
Well, I'm going to make this unbeknownst to you. This has definitely been increased in clock length by the actions they've just taken. I'm going to make it an 8-part clock for reference, John. And I believe these projects that they're just like making an action roll, right? The segments you gain are based on that. So what kind of action roll are you making to try and win back Dharma?
I think I would like to pay him off by, and I assume, I assume I can go. I'm going to try and break into loads of people's houses to earn a little bit of money on the side.
Sure.
So that I can scrounge together some coin to then give to Darmot.
Give to Darmot as a makeup present.
Yeah, as just a come on, man, because I don't think I can realistically convince this man by just appealing to his human nature. I have to just be look, how can I make it up to you? Shower him with gifts.
Sure, absolutely. That seems appropriate. So I'm assuming that sounds like a prowl roll you're proposing to me.
Yeah, I was going for prowl. Just sneaking around, seeing if I can.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, you do know that Darmot is very much into his fine food, so perhaps you can buy him some tasty treats in order to win him back over. Well, why don't you give me that prowl roll then?
Sure. Highest result was a 4.
Okay. Well, as always with these downtime rolls, if you want, you can spend coin or rep to increase by a tier, but just so you know, that's going to be 2 segments if it's a 4.
I think I'll I think I've got to leave it. I don't think I can afford to spend.
That's fair enough. Well, you do, you managed to find him roaming the docks, and you buy him some of the local, fancy street food that could be purchased there, perhaps wretched things that are from the depths of the ink black ocean, but which do taste quite nice.
Seafood.
And, he seems kind of generally pleased to see you, but also kind of as he's walking away from you from along a quayside, he kind of turns over his shoulder with his mouth full though and says, "This doesn't change anything."
But I get the sense it's slowly changing things.
Yes. To the tune of 2 segments.
Yeah.
So there we go. Next up, we have Bricks.
Bricks has had enough of strange men walking out of fire with steely gazes and creepy voices from the darkness giggling at him. And he's going to go put money on a couple of people beating the ever-loving gore out of each other. And I'm going to indulge my vice.
You're going to indulge your vice at the fighting pits. Presumably your ones of choice, the fighting pits in Dunslow that Sergeant Velk runs from his den of iniquity in Iron Hook prison. Go ahead and it's just a D6 roll to see how many. Oh, it's with your lowest. Yeah, you use your lowest attribute rating, and well, you know these things by now. I don't need to say.
4.
Okay, not bad. Not too bad.
It's respectable.
You have a decent enough evening. Let's say your friend Marlene is there, and you bet on her to, break one of the kind of the fighting pits at the moment are flooded with Skovlander refugees desperate to make a little bit of money and put their bodies on the line for the survival of them and their families. And you gladly wager some cash for Marlene to beat horrible things into these poor, unfortunate people, and she does indeed do so. So feel good about that. Next, we have Steve. So, Steve, I don't know if you've had the opportunity to take a look at the different downtime activities that might be available to you.
Yes, I might need some assistance here, but I think we can start. So, yes, my vice, Rook's vice is obligation. So, Rook was as a Skovlander was part of the military and was essentially fought in the recent civil war. So he has, I think, the sight of these huge explosions, the death that was clearly caused at the camp, has kind of triggered some of his feelings towards refugees from the civil war. So he's going to go off, and I believe what page is it? It is Hutton, page 299. He might go off and try and find this chap named Hutton and try and assist with making
Hutton in Char Hollow, who's helping Skovlander refugees and revolutionaries. And make some kind of donations to the cause or help out there and sort of donate time and money to that. In that case, what you do is you take your weakest attribute, which would be the things you roll kind of the resistance rolls with. Do you know how to calculate those?
Not quite. So essentially, I have no points at all in resolve because there are like 3 insight, prowess, and resolve, and
so you have nothing in attune, command, consort, or sway. Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So then what you will do is roll 2 dice and take the lowest.
Lovely. Oh, that's convenient. 5 on both. So
wonderful. We'll then reduce your stress by 5.
That's okay.
Doing those good works clearly makes you feel a little more, a little better about what you just did. So, with that in mind, Silver, what are you doing? I smell vice, the pursuit of vice coming over the horizon in the form of some more draperies.
Definitely vice. I think Silver might feel that she needs some more direct de-stressing, and is going to visit the bathhouse in Crowsfoot, which is one of the luxury pleasure vice thingies.
Yeah, sounds good. In that case, why don't you go ahead and roll your lowest attribute?
Okay, 1d6. I got a 2.
There we go. So clearly, going to the baths does not tickle your usual itch enough of fine clothes and things with which to decorate your small hovel. But it eases enough. Maybe it eases your sore shoulder that the goats have pulled out of place a little bit. And yes, 2 stress. Chris, what is Oriel doing for their first downtime activity?
I'm afraid it's going to be more stress relief.
I think almost everyone's first pick for downtime activity is almost always stress relief. So why don't you tell us what Oriel's stress relief is?
Oriel kind of fades off into the shadows and returns to the whispering occult, not so much underground, but kind of occultist for hire rooms of whispered noises and such like, and just generally goes to bars and does the kind of chatting and rumor mongering thing.
Yeah, what's your vice specifically listed as?
So the vice is listed as weird.
Mm-hmm.
And then specifically there's one down here which is the hooded proprietor of a flooded bar on the docks.
Yeah, I think you go and participate in odd rituals and learn forbidden things and the like. You consort with other whispers and spirits and so on and so forth. So Oriel delves into this half-flooded grotto tavern near the docks and goes down strange passageways to stranger chambers beyond. Roll your lowest attribute.
I believe that's always going to be 1d6 because I've got 1 dot and everything.
Yes, it will be.
One dot in each of the
yeah,
three.
if you've got
predators.
one, if one section has at least one, then yeah, it's going to be a 1.
6. Read and weep, nerds. Yes.
Clearly, whatever Oriel gets up to in those horrible, forbidden underground chambers does the trick, which should be a lesson to the rest of you. So, let's go back to the full crew and see what we're doing for our second downtime activities. Every downtime, for anyone who doesn't know, comes with 2 activities. You can buy more for coin and rep at the end, though, but we'll see if everyone leaves satisfied, as I'm sure they will. And first, we're going right back to Chris.
So I'm not 100% sure of the system, but how short-term can a long-term project be? Because I really want to start doing some research into this Lord Scurlock gentleman and the kind of arts he has found himself in.
I'm very glad that we, among us, determined who the individual was. It is indeed Lord Scurlock, who runs Scurlock Munitions, among many other enterprises.
Who'd have thunk it?
Researching into Lord Scurlock, like the first kind of tier of research into him, I do not think will be a particularly long-term project for you. Let me just double check. I think the lowest clock is meant to be 6.
Can you have a 2-portion clock? You're the GM. You can do what you like.
There's an option for 4 on the sheet.
4, 6, and 8. Okay. I think I'm happy for this to be a 4-section clock for you to learn a bit about Lord Scurlock. So can we add that to the Keeper's project clocks, please? John, and you tell me, Chris, what action roll are you using to look into this, to study it, if you will?
Yes. You completely stole my goddamn thunder, you Philistine. I'm going to go and roll my study.
It can be any of them. Like if you've got higher in a tune, you could do that because you could kind of seek out whispers of him among the ghostly inhabitants of the catacombs and stuff.
Do you know what you have actually made me, because I think Oriel is most interested in his weird spirit vacuum and his ridiculous eyes. So I think a tune would be
yeah, go for it.
That's 2 dice. A 6 and a 3.
There we go. Well, a 6 will give you, I believe, 3. Is it 3 segments? I think so. 6 gives you 3 segments. You hear tantalizing. Well, you know what? And actually, if you want any of these standard downtime activity rolls, the ones that aren't like the Vice, you can always spend a coin to increase the increase it, so you could turn it technically into a critical, which would be 5 segments and would clear it. But it's up to you. Maybe you want to save that coin for other things.
Do you know what? No. Oriel has their own sources for money. This has been a bonus, so I will spend that. I'll cash that in.
Okay, there we go. Then you can clear that long-term project, John.
Long-term, me bum.
And so let's talk about Lord Scurlock. So, you seek out information among these whispering companions, perhaps in that grotto tavern on the docks. You go seek the spirits that dwell in the depths of Doskvol, some of which you can even communicate and talk to in some fashion without them leaching the very warmth from your bones and leaving you a desiccated husk beneath the streets. You know which ones to talk to and which ones not. They don't talk to you directly. They talk as if you're not there in their own odd cadence and language, and you have to kind of siphon information from them and reinterpret it with your own personal calculations. But from that, you find a number of things about Lord Scurlock. It doesn't seem difficult to find information about him, partly because the spirits of Doskvol seem to know him and to fear him considerably. You also find a surprising amount of information from them, from spirits who have been dead for a long time, far too long to reasonably have known of the existence of Lord Scurlock. He has been a part of Doskvol for a very long time. He is an ancient noble, rumored to be immortal and obsessed with arcane secrets. And I'll give you more on Lord Scurlock because I'm kind like that. He has a dilapidated manor house in 6 towers, rumored to have many catacombs beneath it, an array of business holdings, and seemingly some investment in cult shrines across the city. Yes, that is Lord Scurlock. You could carry out further investigations into him, of course, but I think that's the 4-segment surface tier information on this individual. There we go. Let's pick our next downtime activity. That's going to be from Justin. What did you take for your second activity?
I am going to heal some of my wounds, and I just want to double check what the dice I'll be rolling to make use of our contact medic.
Yes, because we now obviously have a leech on staff as it were. Red Silks over in the docks. I believe, but I will double check, that you basically roll your tier. I think that's how it works, right? You just roll your faction's tier, which would be 1 die. But I will double check if I can find the goddamn thing.
Is it not also their tier?
Well, they don't have a tier.
Something.
Gangs have tiers.
I've got tier 3 written on the sheet next to them.
Yeah, that's because that's what we used before we knew what the rules were. Yeah, I think the quality levels.
It is based on your crew tier.
It is based on your crew tier. It's not listed in that section. It's listed in the section on tiers. I remember us looking at this when our tier went up. So yes, it is. So that's just a 1 die.
Okay. And have I done healing before? I think I've done like 1 tick of healing before, I think.
You may have done, I don't know. You need to manage your own healing clock, I'm afraid.
That's fair enough. I rolled low. I think I rolled a 3, so it's not great.
3 will be 1 segment on the healing clock. Your healing clock is on your sheet next to your harm.
Yeah. I think I'm on my 2nd segment now. But
I'm fine for it to be that. Absolutely fine for it to be that. Okay. So you go to Red Silks. Yeah. What is your harm, by the way? Oh, it's the ferret bite.
And also, I'm still hungover. So I've had this harm since session 1. And I think I've seen a medic at least once since session 1.
Dehydration does a lot. So there we go. Red Silk's only able to provide limited help, I think it's safe to say. And our next downtime activity is going to be Sam. What's Silver up to, Sam?
I'm gonna Vice again. I think back to more classic Vice indulging. I'm gonna head to Dunridge and Sons, pick up some.
Learned your lesson from the baths.
Yeah, wasn't as good.
Going back to your clothery. Cool. Give us the attribute roll for it, please.
Okay, it's another 1 dice. I got a 3. Okay, not the worst.
Not the worst. So what does that leave your stress at?
I've lost 5 in total. I was on 8, so I should be on 3.
Not too bad. Not too
bad.
Yeah. So your encounter there, and your favorite clerk at the store, Caslin Dundridge, is there. What do you get from this interaction? We've had drapes. We've had a silver cloak. What are we purchasing now? That's worth 3 stress.
I think I would have been concerned, like seeing this important noble guy wearing fashions I considered outdated, and I'd be like, "Wait a minute, am I the one who's outdated? Like, have things moved on?" And so I'd want to go back and be like, "Okay,
he's a scary magic man. Am I? Yeah. He's got to have his finger on the pulse." So
I'd just go pick up like the latest, maybe like some trousers, a shirt, so just general clothes, just to make sure I'm really up to date.
Absolutely. That sounds great. So Rook, what are you doing for your second downtime activity, friend?
Well, I think I might try making something with these bits and pieces I picked up, which is a tinker roll of some description, but it involves tears. So it could be a little.
Sure.
This is.
I have no idea how this works. So You know what we'll do? We'll do this off cam because
Sure,
I don't know how this
Yeah.
works. Let me read this section, but we'll hold this in reserve for the next time you guest slot.
Sounds
Right?
good.
We'll roll it up then, and you can start tinkering or complete tinkering, however it works, to your heart's desire. But we'll hold this downtime activity in reserve.
Cool.
How about that?
That's great.
Then Bricks, you're up next.
Well, as there is a surge of new faces in the fighting pits, it is only my duty to do some research and lay some money on to figure out who the up and coming big winners will be.
So you need to lose more stress then.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought you were going to go and headbutt them.
Just beat crap out of them. Yeah, go ahead and make that roll while a cat appears behind me.
So I overindulge because I rolled a 6.
Yeah.
I have slightly forgotten what that means.
So overindulgence. When you overindulge, you make a bad call because of your vice. To bring the effect of this bad decision into the game, select an overindulgence from the list. You can attract trouble for me to roll an additional entanglement. You can brag about your exploits for +2 heat. You can be lost and basically lose Bricks until Bricks comes back. Or your current purveyor can cut you off and you need to find a new source for your vice. It's up to you. Or if you want, you can roll for that.
We haven't had any entanglements for this, have we?
We have not. We have not.
Entanglements are like clocks.
So I presumably need to be rolling for entanglements again.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to find out a way to figure that entanglement in within this action or the next one.
It does say
Thanks,
select
John.
or roll. So it says select or roll an additional entanglement.
I don't want to
you
select
pick
one.
or I pick. Or...
I don't think you pick an entanglement.
Probably
That
not.
doesn't seem right. Because you could just pick the one we rolled before that means nothing.
Yeah.
So I'll roll again. So we're on two wanted, right? So, and then, so is it the highest? Find the column that matches the crew's current. Roll the number of dice equal to their wanted level and use the result of the roll to select which sort of entanglement manifests.
Oh, so they get worse. Because
So it presumably is the higher. That doesn't
I
make
assume
any
it's the
sense.
highest.
Did we
The
just
highest.
get 2?
Yeah, it must be the highest. I just rolled the same thing again. But I'm not having that. I'm not having an overindulgence lead to nothing. So I'm going to select the other results from the other roll, which, yeah, let me have a look. Ooh. Okay. We're going to have a thing. What is my cat doing? We are going to have this. Okay. So, John, can you open up, please, the Keeper's faction section and just tell me give me your pick of neutral factions from among them. So a faction that has 0 to do with the Keepers. It can be one you've encountered or not. So as well as ones with 0 on, presumably there's a bunch with just nothing on because you haven't encountered them at all.
They've got like a slash or something.
Yeah, any of them or any of the 0s. And while you're picking that, let's go to Pierre for his last downtime activity.
Yeah. So after sort of recovering some of my strength, I'm like, I think the rest of the crew will have seen me sort of looking at, like, standing outside of the old ruined lighthouse that we call our home and sort of looking up at it in a sort of strange way. And I am going to sort of build myself up to it and then start trying to climb it repeatedly in like, and I'm not going to get very far initially, and then I'm going to try and do it in more like when it's raining and when it's dark and when it's unpleasant until I can like climb the whole of our area with confidence, and then I'm going to try and do it without any safety equipment. And yeah. And so what I'm doing is I'm training. But
yes, and specifically, it sounds like you're training prowess, which I believe the keepers have. Do the keepers have the ability for training prowess in downtime, where you get like 2 XP instead of 1? Is that right? Yeah. Nice.
That's our specialty.
Nice. Very nice indeed. Let's flip back to Bricks. Have you picked a faction there, John? I can delay it a bit longer if you haven't.
I'm gonna go for the Gondoliers.
Oh,
because they're an interesting faction to have something with.
Sure. So the Gondoliers, and I'll just give a bit of a description of them. They're a guild of canal boat operators, venerated by ancient tradition. They are said to know occult secrets. Many things are submerged in the dusk.
Oh no!
So, what's happened, Bricks, is that you, my friend, as I go back to and desperately try and find the description of the entanglement. So you essentially you discover through your betting on things that a member of the Gondoliers made a foolish bet during the recent rounds of fight pit betting that you were a part of. They bet against Marlene, and you're not entirely sure why they tried to do that. But you then do discover that she says that she was attacked by some mysterious individuals just before the fight, and mysterious individuals smelling strongly of canal water. And the two of you put 2 and 2 together, so they have thrown their weight around against kind of Marlene, and therefore you, known to be your friend.
Mm-hmm.
The mechanical results of this, and we'll say how these things happen, is essentially you have to forfeit 1 rep or 1 coin per tier of the rival. Their tier is 3. Or you have to stand up to them and lose 1 status with them. So 3 coin, 3 rep, or -1 status with the Gondoliers for the keepers. And obviously we'll narrate how this happens after you make the choice. And I think it has to be just Brick's choice. And while John is making that choice...
I think I've made the choice.
You've made the choice. Go for it.
I mean, Bricks isn't exactly the sort of person to pay them off or any of the rest of it. So I think it's going to be loser status and potentially put forward a score at a later point to settle some kind of debt.
Absolutely.
Or the score.
Well
Settle
be
the
done.
score.
Yeah.
Come on.
So Bricks, in that fighting pit in Dunslow, you hear of this. You're not a patient man. You kind of round the fighting pit and walk straight up to one of the individuals that Marlene points out, spin them round with 1 hard tap on their shoulder, and put them down with a harder tap in the face. He's scrabbling backwards from you on the floor, eye daubed with some kind of purple sigil that seems to have been either tattooed or smeared on his face. And he looks young, rash, perhaps one of the apprentices in the Guild of Gondoliers. And as he scrabbles away, he just goes, You'll regret that! He seems to be the one regretting it in this immediate moment, however. And he scrambles off into the unwashed masses. So that's our prescribed downtime activities. Is anyone buying any further activities for coin or rep?
Yes.
I am not.
Okay, put your hands up if you are. Just... Okay, well, Steve's back and forth on it, so we'll go with John first. What's Bricks buying?
Bricks is buying some medical care. The question is whether he's spending coin or rep.
Spend some of that precious keeper's rep.
I mean, we did get a lot of rep for blowing up the folks. And, sometimes it's not a good thing to grow too quickly until you've got the might to put behind it.
Sure, yeah. So word gets out that the keeper's cutter needs fixing up. Doesn't sound like they're doing their job. And the rep of the keepers goes down 1 notch. But make your healing roll. It's just 1 die.
Okay. Rolled a 4.
Rolled a 4. Well, that is 2 segments on your healing clock.
I've got half the splinters out the back of my head.
Good stuff. So, Steve, what is Rook doing and what are they spending it on?
Well, I quite like the sound of this this training option. So, what's the deal? So, if you train a prowess skill, you get 2 XP.
Yeah, with the keepers, if you train in prowess, you get 2 prowess XP. If it's anything else, any of the others, you just get 1.
Okay.
So, and we will count you as informal members of the keepers for the purposes of these. I think that's only fair. So that wraps us up, I think, folks. So there's also if anyone has any comments or questions, pop them in the chat and we'll address them here. Steve will pop them up for us and we'll talk through them. There's a couple of other things to cover. So one of the things we're going to try and do going forward, and we hope this tickles your fancy, is that we're going to try and keep each streaming session to 1 score and 1 downtime phase, because I feel it's much more coherent if we do it that way. That might lead to quite varying stream lengths. Some might run a little long, some might run quite a bit short, but I think it's worthwhile doing that. But let us know what you think. Let us know what you think about that. The other thing is to thank our guest stars. Steve and Chris, they won't be in this every week. They'll just be popping in and out whenever they feel like it. But they have been a wonderful addition to this little score. Thank you to Pierre and Justin, who sat through a lot of that off cam and didn't get to be in a score or anything. But, nevertheless, their presence has been wonderful. So next week, just so you know, the score that we're addressing, do you remember that job for Dalmor that you fought so hard to get? Well, turns out that the keepers have decided to go for that job because it seems his letters saying that you can do it seem increasingly strident and desperate in tone. And also, Brix is of the opinion that maybe Dalmor in return can help out with this demon business that's suddenly reared its ugly head in the proximity of the crew. So that is the score we'll be going on to next week. And let me do my promo and then we'll address anything from the comments that pops up. If you check the links down below, you'll find links to our YouTube and our Twitch. You're watching on one. Why not check out the other and give us a subscribe or a follow or whatever it is on that platform? We've got social media, Instagram, Twitter. We've got a Discord that you can join and talk to us about all things role-playing, all things telling tales. We have a Patreon that you can support us on in exchange for lovely treats. We run 3 weekly shows at the moment, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, each of them starting at 8 o'clock p.m. BST. Call of Cthulhu on Monday, Blades in the Dark on Tuesdays, and Simba Room on Wednesdays. We also run monthly one-shots on the first Saturday of every month. The most recent of that was the One Ring, the new alpha version from Free League. Went down really well. We had a lot of people watching and a lot of interest. So please do check that out. That's currently debuted today as a VOD on our YouTube and will be episodically released there over the next week or so, probably. We've got a bunch of old one-shots on there, Alien and Troika and Maltborg and stuff, and The Expanse and Honey Heist. Check those out as well. We also run a fortnightly Simba Room show on every other Sunday over on the Free League Twitch. The very last episode of that should be airing this Sunday, so check that out if you want, although you might want to watch the other episodes first, I guess. There's VODs on our YouTube. That's on my promo, isn't it? Yes. All done. We've had some followers today, so I will... a couple of followers since we started as well. It's a good sign. Must be doing something right. Thank you for the follows to Doc JJ, Fragilities, and Stefan Saviano. Thank you so much. What do we got in the comments, Steve? A blind orphan, don't know who that is. I think we can all agree that this was Chris's profligate ticking of the clocks at fault here. Repulsive. Definitely not Sam. Sam would never accept any ticks of the clock tonight.
I know better, but Chris, what can you do?
Look, if a GM says, "Do you want the thing that will benefit you?" You say no, kids. Say no.
Yes. It's fine. I'm sure nothing will come of Lord Skurlock developing any kind of animosity towards the Keepers. Especially not with the information Chris has found out. What else we got? 42. Good to see you. What happens when a PC goes to jail? Essentially, that character vanishes for a time. And then when they emerge, the wanted level comes down. That's it, basically. Like most things in Blades in the Dark, it's not terribly in-depth about it. And it's one of the reasons why I think the system quite suits troop play. Idea having, i.e. having multiple characters that you can sort of swap between. I suppose if you do that, then it removes the element of, I guess, punishment from it in some way. But although I guess you're moving to a less powered character because they probably haven't had as much XP put into them, so that maybe that's a rationale. But that's what happens anyway. You can also, I think, you can basically put friends and maybe like your allies and people who are working for you in prison instead, and of course then you lose access to them.
And also you can get trauma in prison.
Yes. So yeah, that. What else we got?
I think that's possibly it.
Is that the lot? Cool. So there's one little other question that we had a while ago. I think as a comment on YouTube rather than, and I forgot to add it, but that was also from 42, I think, where they're asking about the Keeper's Lighthouse. Is the lighthouse still functioning? Do you pay rent to the lighthouse keeper? Is one of you the official lighthouse keeper?
We are all the lighthouse keepers.
Yeah, it was an abandoned lighthouse. We maybe, there's no...
Yeah, there's no lighthouse keeper, right? Like it's just a wrecked old lighthouse.
That's why they're called the Keepers.
Yeah.
Oh, top work.
It's an interesting though. Like we could have a project to make the lighthouse functional, couldn't we?
Yeah, stop getting all these boats crashing into the
like this is such like an offshore money laundering scheme. Like, where do you get your money from? Oh, the lighthouse. That's our source of income. Doesn't seem like a very profitable industry for a rich gang of people to be.
Maybe you could use that to do a bit of wrecking. If anyone's familiar with that old practice, where people would fake lighthouse lights on the shore to lure ships in and then scavenge from the wreckage, which is fairly uniquely horrible thing to do. But there we go. Yeah, great stuff. Thank you, Lord Malice. Enjoyed it. Good night, all. Good night. Thank you to my wonderful extended crew here, some of whom didn't have a tremendous amount to do, and some of whom were pulling double duty. So thank you to all of them. Thank you to everyone watching, and we will see you soon. Take care. Stay safe, everyone.